This week on World Traveler Cooking, the omelette d'auge, also called omelette sucrée, de la vallée d'auge. As the longer name suggests, this is a sweet omelette from the Auge Valley in Normandy. Now, Norman food is typified by extensive use of apples, Calvados, which is an apple brandy, and some other things. And this dish is actually really great for both breakfast or dessert. The alcohol content isn't particularly noticeable. So onto the ingredients. We have 2 eggs, of course, and these are medium eggs. You really don't want too much in the way of egg here, so if you're using large, very large eggs, maybe you cut it down to 1. I would make a joke about 1 egg being enough, but I guess that's neither here nor there. We have 1 apple. We have some sugar, and all the recipes I've been able to find use white sugar. I used to make it that way. Now I'm, right now, just to reduce the impact on blood sugar, I'm using boiled cane syrup instead. Basically, you know, fully raw sugar, not a turbinado, but you could use turbinado too. It doesn't really matter because we're going to caramelize the sugar slightly anyway. So if you're using something with a more caramely flavor, what does it matter? We also have some powdered sugar, and this does have to be powdered sugar. We have a little bit of cream. We have butter, of course, to fry things in, and we have Calvados. Very important, have a nice flambeing setup because we will be flambeing this omelette. Let's get started. So first, for prep, I've poured just a little cream, maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons into this bowl. I have diced my apple, and I'm heating up my pan. There's really not much prep that you need to do here. I would say make sure you have a spoon handy because we'll use that in a moment, and make sure that you have a nice spatula for this. While the pan is heating up, I'm going to start, I'm going to break my eggs in here and I'm going to whisk them. And I'll show you that in a second. The pan is heating up. I'm going to break my eggs into this bowl. And I'm going to whisk them. And I'm going to add, you can totally eyeball this, about a tablespoon of powdered sugar. And I'm erring on the side of a little less right now, but it could probably take a little more than I added. And basically whisk this until it's pretty well incorporated, and then we just set it aside. Once the pan's getting kind of warm or hot, we can add, you can eyeball about 30 grams or 2 tablespoons of butter, put it in your pan, and as that is starting to melt, well, then just go ahead and add your apples. And we're going to stir this around and kind of lightly brown them. You're going to say, well, they're turning brown now. Well, just watch the color and wait for the apples to cook a bit. Now that we can see the apples cooking nicely, we're going to take our spoon and we're just going to spoon in somewhere approximately a tablespoon or a scant tablespoon of our sugar. And then we're going to stir this around and we're going to let this caramelize for another couple minutes. Then I'll be back and I'll scoop these out and we'll have a quick talk about safety before we go on. So I'm not going to wait until the bells are done here, but these are looking pretty done, so I'm going to need to take them out. you know, my plate with the cream, I'm going to scoop the apples onto the cream, as well as much of this liquid as I can. And then I'm going to stir up the apple cream butter sugar mixture to kind of make a sauce. So hold on one second. I'll be back and then we'll talk about so just showing you stirring this up a little bit. And I'm going to wash my pans quickly. Because I'm using a carbon steel pan, it'll be easy to work with. But you can see how the cream just kind of integrates into sort of a butterscotch sauce here. So in this next segment, we'll be playing with fire, literally. So it's really important that we think ahead and prepare ourselves. So ideally you should have like an ABC fire extinguisher that's good for oil fires as well as electrical fires, yada yada yada. But even without that, there are some very basic things you can keep in mind. For example, under no circumstances should you pour water onto a fire here, because we're going to have butter, we're going to have alcohol, and we're going to have fire. And those things are things that you need to be respectful of. So, first safety piece. I have a lid to put over the top. If the fire looks like it's getting out of control, I can put the lid over the top, and this lid will smother the fire. It'll prevent oxygen from mixing. The fire will burn itself out very quickly. The second thing I have, in the event where there's fire outside the pan, on the counter here would be Kaiser Natron. This is sodium bicarbonate baking soda. And the thing about baking soda is that heat breaks it down, so it releases carbon dioxide. It will also smother a fire. So, those are the things that we have. Again, you should make sure you have a fire extinguisher, which I also have. But defense in depth, and keep in mind you might still be able to save your omelet if you put the lid over it. You're not going to be able to save it once you use a fire extinguisher or the Kaiser Natron. So my recommendation is lid to contain any fire in the pot in case you get too much Calvados in there, and other things to deal with fire that might splash outside if things are really bad. So now that we've talked about that, let's go ahead and get started. Now this pan is a bit hot. I'm going to add just a bit of butter, and I'm going to start making my omelet. So, as you can more or less expect, the pan's hot. You want a hot pan before you add your butter. That'll help keep things from sticking. Next, we're going to pour our sweetened omelet in. And then, rather quickly, I'm going to start spooning in the filling. And we're going to spoon the filling kind of around the omelet. We're going to finish off with a kind of a nice dab in the middle. Then we're going to let this cook on about medium until the omelet's relatively cooked. Then we will start turning up the corners, and then we will flambe it. Okay, so this area here is now pretty well cooked. So I'm going to start turning up the... You're going to see how much why I love these pans so much. They just, nothing sticks to them if you treat them right. At some point maybe I'll do a series on how to treat different kinds of pans. Alright, now I'm going to set up the camera and we're going to do the flambe. So, accidents can happen, but we are prepared. I'm going to start by opening my Calvados, and I'm going to pour, I'm going to make sure this is ready. Nope, not. Okay, we're ready. I'm going to pour around a tablespoon or so of Calvados around the lip here. And we're going to flambe it. See, nothing bad, but had I accidentally poured too much in, we could have had a problem, and that's where the lid comes in. And if I spilled it out here, we could have a bigger problem, and that's where the other stuff comes in. At any rate, now we're going to put it on the plate. Now to present this, we're just going to dust it lightly with some powdered sugar. So here we have our omelette de ouge, omelette de ouge, or our sweet omelette from the Ouge Valley. Next up, the taste test. And now for the taste test. It smells delicious, by the way. And the Calvados gives it even more of a rich smell. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. You guys gotta try it, seriously. This is like one of my favorite things to eat for breakfast, just simply because it's that good. At any rate, if you find this content interesting, I hope I earned a like and a subscription from you. Please, also, if you make this dish and you have a different way of making it, I'd love to hear from you about what you do differently. I think it's great to have those sorts of conversations on this channel. Recipes in the description as always. Bon appetit and see you next week.